Hello class, it's Mrs. Durst, and today we are going to learn how to draw some 3D shapes. So I hope you can find this page in your sketchbook and find a pencil and an eraser, and we'll go to town on these 3D shapes. Okay, I'm going to flip my camera around for you. Here we are. So I am going to work in a Sharpie marker. That way you can see me very clearly on this paper, but I would prefer that you use a pencil because you may want to erase as you learn how to do these shapes, okay? The first shape is a cube. So a cube starts as, if you look right here, a square. So I'm going to draw a square anywhere in this space would work. Okay, there we go, a square. Now, our cube is going to be solid, so made out of something you cannot see through. This one here is transparent, and I'll show you how to do that one next. So for this unsee-through or opaque, you want to do a diagonal line and a diagonal line. And you want these two to come across like that. Then you want the same diagonal line to connect to this corner. All right? So this diagonal, and this diagonal are all going in the very same direction, and they should be the same length. And then you connect those up. Okay? Now that's not the best cube I've ever made, but it's still a 3D shape. Let me show you how to do a transparent cube. This would be a square. Okay, and what I'd like you to do is do an identical square within the square or rectangle. Rectangles work too. Squares are a cube. When you use a rectangle and do this, it's called a prism. All right, so I'm going to connect this one, this one, this one, and this one. And there is a 3D cube that is clear. Okay, that one is clear. Now, this one, I did a dotted line because it's in a line that we can't see if this cube is opaque. So I'd like you to do 3 to 4 more of the see-through cubes and 3 to 4 more of these opaque cubes. I'm going to do another opaque cube right here with you. Okay. There's a square. Now, if I used a ruler, I could make my square very exact. But today I'm not using a ruler. So I'm going to do one diagonal line, try to make this one as the same, and this one the same. And then I'm going to connect these two, and then those two. There's another opaque cube. So let's try a rectangle opaque. We're going to go here. Here is a rectangle. Okay, and I'm going to have it facing down. So I'm going to come here, here, here. So here's my side, and here's my angle. Okay, so it works if you go to the down, to the right, to the left. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to try another transparent cube facing up. Okay, So here is a square. And here will be another square. Okay. And then I'm going to connect this line, this line, this line, and this line. And there is another transparent cube just facing a different way. Now let's go to a cylinder. Now keep practicing those cubes. Make sure you do 4 of each. A cylinder. We did a cylinder when we made our hot mug of chocolate last year. So we start with an oval and we create 2 lines that come down and we just create a smiley face. We mimic the curve of the lip of the first oval and we mimic it down here. This is an opaque cylinder. Over here is a clear cylinder or a transparent cylinder. Here's how it would look if it was perfectly clear. 2 ovals, as similar as they can be, with a line connecting. And there is a clear cylinder. Okay, so practice your cylinders and they all start with that oval. Okay, practice those up a bit. Do 3 or 4 of each cylinder. Okay, and here is a cone. Ice cream cones are what I think of when I do this. So let's do an ice cream cone. It's an oval and an angle, just like that. I am looking into the cone. But what if we had an opaque cone, one you could not see through or see the lip? This cone is sitting right on a table. It would be a letter A and a curve. Assuming that the whole bottom of my cone is circular, I would be seeing a rounded edge, just like that. Okay, work on your opaque as well as your transparent cones. Our last piece is something a little more tricky. It is called a sphere or a 3D circle. And the only way we really can show that a circle is 3D is through the technique of shading. And what I want you to do right here on the side of this diagram is to shade from heavy and slowly, as you work down, back off to light. So I'm at medium and I'm going lighter, I'm going lighter, I'm going lighter, I'm getting lighter until my pencil is barely touching. That is shading. And this technique of being able to go from a heavy pencil line to a light one allows us to get a 3D effect on a sphere. So let's go ahead and do our first shading practice in our sketchbooks. Let me get rid of this little advertisement here. There we go. We are going to assume that the light source is coming from right here, okay? That is the first thing you have to decide when you're shading something. Where is the light coming from? Because the shadow and the shading happens on the other side of the object. So you're going to have a highlight in the area that the light is hitting. It's going to be its lightest here. You're going to get midtones in between the highlight and the darker shadow. Now, every time you have an object in the way of light, we see a shadow on the other side of the object. So let's just try this out and use this diagram to create the shadow in your sphere. So what you want to do, if my light is coming from here, this will be my darkest area, right back here, because there's very little light coming this way. Okay, now you want to work up to a medium tone. Okay, in here, a little bit of light is getting around that orb. A little bit of light is making it around the circle. And you get lighter yet, and lighter, and lighter. Right now, I'm barely touching the paper. Right now, I'm barely allowing my pencil to leave a mark. It takes such control. Oh my goodness. And as I go back, I'm filling in a little more pencil back in here. And I want to see a smooth transition from my dark to my light. I don't want to see an obvious line. I want to see a very smooth transition. So you have to work with it. You have to sometimes darken up the back a little and then work in a little more color maybe here or shadow. And then I'm working in to get it lighter and lighter and lighter. Oh, wow. Does my circle look a lot more 3D than it did before? Almost. To make it really look real, I need a shadow. You can see up here in this diagram, the shadow is like an oval. You see what I'm seeing? It's an oval. So I am going to very lightly sketch an oval. That makes sense to me in this sense. Okay, here is, I think it's a little long. I'm gonna round it around a little more so it looks more real. And guess what's so great about pencils? You can erase them. All right, so the light is coming down. This orb is solid and blocking the light, but there is a little light getting around the orb. So notice your shadow is very dark, closest to your object, and then it gets less dark as you move away because light is coming around ever so slightly around your orb. So I'm going to really put some muscle into this shadow right in here. Okay, because this is where my shadow will be darkest. Then I'm going to back off a little so that my shadow is less dark, and then a little less dark. And then I'm going to work with my eraser maybe and just try to smudge my line. I don't want to see a lot of lines in there. Again, you want it to be very gradual. And there you go. Does my orb look a little more real now? I think so. I think my shadow, if I'm looking at this, needs to be a little more round to replicate what I think is happening in this picture. So I might bring my shadow a little bit more around into that oval shape. All right, there we go. Now, they show here a little bit of a reflection. Okay, you can go back with your eraser and right on the edge of your orb, provide a little bit of a reflection in the very back, like so. So that is pretty cool. So work on this. It's definitely difficult. This is difficult art, and we are going to continue shading next time together, but keep working on this. Draw a few circles and try to get your shading to be smooth. Don't give up and don't stop with your first one. Do at least 3 of these in your sketchbook today. Really take your time, follow the diagram, and always realize you can back up a video and pause it if you need to see something again. I hope you're well. See you soon.